On Mondays, it always takes a little bit of time to make sure that the tubes connect themselves after a long weekend, after being disconnected. It sometimes takes a minute, and here it looks like things are moving and grooving. And you may not know this, but it is Chartreuse Monday. I know, this is one of those shirts that I got because it's supposed to be chartreuse, and the collars are not really sticking around. I'm not real happy. It might be time to retire this shirt is what I'm saying. So it is and may be our very last Chartreuse Monday, but it looks like the stream is working. So let's get started, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney at the R&R Law Group. We're located in the always beautiful and sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. And today, my friends, I don't know if you can sense it, but I can feel it. There's a little bit of Trump panic in the air. That is the thumbnail. That's the title of the show today. Because over the weekend, Donald Trump spoke at an event, and he kind of is hinting that he may be getting very close to announcing a run for president. And now the media seems like they are orienting themselves. We've seen some of this before, but they're orienting themselves against Donald Trump. We're going to take a look at that. And of course, as we do, let's go over to our mind map. So today, as you can see, we're talking about Trump panic. And we're going to start off by asking ourselves, did Rupert Murdoch turn? Did Fox News turn? Because it seems like they have. We'll take a look at several different articles that all dropped simultaneously, right? This all happened on Friday. It was like that one episode out of Game of Thrones where, well, actually every episode is kind of like this, but something really bad happened to a bunch of people and you didn't really expect it, and it was all orchestrated and coordinated, and then boom, it all just goes to red wedding, status, if you know what I'm talking about. But here, the Murdoch entire enterprise seems like they are turning around. They're shifting to orient themselves against Donald Trump. We saw that over the weekend on Friday, there was some counter programming taking place from Laura Ingraham and Ron DeSantis. We'll break that down. Wall Street Journal published an op-ed, and New York Post also published an op-ed. And all of those are, of course, Rupert Murdoch entities. So we'll take a look at that. But it wasn't just the media that seems like they're getting very agitated with Donaldo El Trumpo. But here also, remember, we left off last week talking about some of these January 6 hearings. And Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and the rest of the Democrat store brand Avenger team, they were out there over the weekend hitting the airwaves. They were on CNN, Jake Tapper. They were meeting with Brett Baer over at Fox News. And Liz Cheney, we've got 3 different clips from her. She was out. She is saying that Donald Trump was literally the worst president that America has ever had. And she gets asked a very important question sort of as a follow-up to that. If Donald Trump is literally the most criminal, the worst president you could ever possibly imagine, Tapper asks the obvious follow-up, do you support indicting him? Do you support criminal charges for the president? And Liz Cheney, we're going to have to see what she has to say. Now, there's another question that gets lobbed her way, another obvious question, one that we've had for a long time. What about the police? What about Capitol Hill Police? What about the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, House Sergeant-at-Arms, Capitol Hill Chief of Police Stephen Sund, who actually asked for help before the 6th. He didn't get it. He was turned down by both Senate Sergeant-at-Arms. Why is that? Muriel Bowser, Metro PD, denied. A lot of questions about that. But Liz Cheney, she's going to say, don't blame them when she gets asked about this. And so it's the old little deflectoroo. So we'll listen to that. And then, of course, the most obvious, most annoying question that we've had to be kicking around and sometimes kicking ourselves about, is Liz Cheney going to run for president? Isn't that what this is all about? Right? Isn't all of this just political posturing? And so I see a lot of the Ukraine flag types on Twitter, and they're like, Liz Cheney should run for president. She's such a hero. I think, all the late night hosts are all just giddy over themselves because they're all sort of saying that she's sacrificing herself for this greater cause. She's going to lose her Senate, her House seat in Wyoming because of her dedication to the cause, because she's so focused on eliminating Donald Trump. Well, I think she just wants to run for president and probably get a job on CNN and probably sell a bunch of books, So, all right. So I guess, heroes come in different shapes and sizes. And one of them looks like Liz for some people in this country, for however, whatever that is, I can't explain it. But okay. Now, we also have been keeping close eyes on the president, Joe Biden, and we've been really pulling for him because if something doesn't work out on this thing, we might wake up tomorrow with Vice President Kamala, and we don't want that. I don't even want to joke about it. It's not funny. I really hope he's doing okay. But as we check in on him, I don't know that he is doing okay. Is part of my point here. He was out here today. I think they posted this. Where did they post this? This is an official White House post, and I linked this up on Twitter so that we can see it. Yeah, this was, when was this? The 25th today. Yeah, this afternoon. I mean, it's just like an hour ago. It says here, 3 hours ago. This came out from Joe. It says, brave women and men in uniform across America should never forget that the defeated former president of the United States watched January 6th happen, and he didn't have the spine to act. And he made remarks today to some organization, and he does not look good. He just, his face is sort of all over the place, and he's really ranty. And so we are going to listen to this and sort of just make sure that our president is, look at him. Yeah. So he's not doing so good. He's having a tough time just reading it, even from the teleprompter. So we'll get back into that. Now, that is in the context, right? He's going to be ranting and railing against insurrectionists, right? Everybody's sort of angry at the insurrectionists. But there's a new article that came out today over from, I think this was from Politico or Axios. We're going to get into it. But it says nearly 1 in 3 Americans say it may soon be necessary to take up arms against the government. So all of the efforts by the January 6th committee to stop and to sort of dissuade Americans from being insurrectionists, it's like not working, because like a third of Americans before the January 6th hearing start, it was like, I don't know, probably like 1 in 20 people thought it might be good to take up arms. But after 17, 18 months of Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, now a full 1/3 of people say it's time to go take up arms. So it's gone up from 1 in 20 to 1 in 3. So good job there. January 6th committee really dissuading Americans. A lot of Americans are like, that insurrection looks pretty good. I'd like to be a part of the next one. Where can I sign up for that? I'm pretty angry with these gas prices and all of this inflation. Where can I join up on the next one? All right. So now we're going to go through that statement from President Biden, because, man, he's just sort of off one today, and they posted that. And what's weird about this is, like, it's his best take. It's his best take. And we sort of went through this with the January 6th hearing, where they were saying that they played multiple clips of Donald Trump, all the different takes. And so, they take multiple takes. We're going to watch the Joe Biden clip, and that's the best take, which is just going to be outstanding. We'll get there. Now, we're going to wrap up the show near the end, because Donald Trump was out over the weekend, and he was over there at TP USA, Turning Point USA. I've got several clips from him. But in addition to the sort of the onslaught, right? Mordoch is turning on him. Liz Cheney is screaming about him all over the weekend. Every single news network she can possibly get on, she drew the short stick that day. So she's out there, and Donald Trump was also out there. He was at Turning Point, and he gave a couple little speeches that I wanted to share with you. He's also doing quite well in the polls. Several articles have come out talking about his radical new plan. If he does actually win again, he's going to be sort of wiping out federal workers, apparently. And he's going to Washington, D.C. tomorrow. And we were speculating on that about that this morning during our morning walk and talk, which I'll tell you about in a minute, about whether he was going to be announcing before the primaries or after the primaries, or the timing on this thing, because it might be interesting to think about it in terms of the indictment from J6ers, whether they indict him or make a referral, right? If he comes, we'll get into that. So as you can see, we've got a lot to attend to today. And as always, if you want to be a part of the show, the place to do that is right over here at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. You can see we've got an awesome community over there. They are chatting away. There's Resident Bedoin. We have Matt's mom is in the house. Tweak is over there. Zach Nichols. Shout out to everybody. I see Radice's in the house, and Phantasmagloria, along with JC the Music Man. And yeah, we're a little late today. We're about an hour late. I had a busy morning. I had a busy day, actually. What do we have at the firm? Ops and financials, and we had a lot of stuff today. Yeah. So anyways, we're here. We're here now. Shout outs to everybody over on Locals. On Rumble, we've got Andre Corbell, Tridimensional, Larry One, Dog Diggers over here, along with Anything chatting away over on Rumble. And our members are Jenny B, Kevlar63, Curtis Bartle are over on YouTube. Shout out to Paul Mino. Paul, are you the one who recommended the chartreuse? I think that might have been you, the chartreuse. We're here today with the chartreuse. Playing Hooky, Lean, Just Cause are modding down the fort. along with K Bean. Shout out to K Bean in the house. But you can join up if you want to join and be a member, clicking right there. And of course, I really, really appreciate it when you think about our law firm, the R&R Law Group. We're here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We handle cases all over Arizona. We have a mission to help good people charged with crimes. If you know anybody who needs some help, we would love the opportunity to do that. 480-787-0394 for free case evaluations. And now, my friends, it is time to get into the meat and potatoes. So as I mentioned, over the weekend on Friday, there was a series of articles that dropped. So remember, on Friday, Donald Trump was coming to Arizona. He was here on a rally for Kari Lake and Blake Masters and many other people, sort of part of the Trump contingent here in Arizona. And something that's very interesting that's happening in Arizona is it's sort of the canary in the coal mine. You're seeing the battle lines drawn here. Pence and Ducey are aligning with one governor, and then we have Trump aligning with Kari Lake and Blake Masters. And so those two people are, sort of having competing, dueling rallies. Now, something interesting happened on that Friday. You can see here, we've got three different sort of bits of evidence. The idea here is that Fox News is turning on Trump, right? There's sort of this aligned pivot that they wake up all these different media entities. We can play around with the theory that they all wake up and the Wall Street Journal is independent of the New York Post and the New York Post is independent of, the Fox News entities and all of this stuff. We can make believe that, or we can just sort of understand that they probably all get up and get memos and, they have editors that they report to. And it all probably sort of trickles up to this guy, Mordoch, who really controls all of these different entities. You know who he is. Now, as I mentioned, Trump was out giving his rally, and here, Laura Ingraham on Twitter on July 22nd, the same day of Trump's rally, right? She's basically counter-programming him. So she's saying Trump's doing his rally. Fox News didn't cover it or didn't cover it in its entirety. He's here and they're talking to, look who that is, Ron DeSantis, right? He says, tune into the Ingraham angle now, live from Tampa. Everybody's here to watch to watch DeSantis and Laura Ingraham. And so people on Twitter were saying, oh, very curious here. It seems like, Fox has sort of picked a different horse in the race, so to speak. And then as we saw, there were some additional publications. The Wall Street Journal, also a Fox entity, posted this article on the July 22nd, the same day. And this came over from the editorial board. And so you might say, right, it's coincidental. We had the hearings that were wrapping up last week. I think there was a final hearing on Thursday. So maybe the editorial board got together and published this on Friday. But they came out and they said the president who stood still on January 6th. And, this is one of those arguments that I've had a lot of problems with for a long time, really, because it's such a stupid argument. It's just like, it's a timing argument. And this is the same argument, right? We saw how dumb this was back on 9/11 when that filmmaker, Michael Moore, came out and he said that George Bush should have, he was reading. Remember when George Bush was reading to the kindergartners and then the planes hit the towers and then Bush sat there and then Michael Moore criticized him for that. He didn't know what to do. And he was sitting there so clueless and afraid. And you go, what did you want him to do? Get a fire hose or something? What do you want? What are you talking about? It's a weird argument. And this has been really the standard of care argument. This has been the idea that somebody doesn't do something how you think they should have done it. Hindsight is always 20/20. Oh, we should have gone that way. I told you. If you never read the map or listen to me, right? It's always one of those. Always could have gone faster. Always could have done it better. Always, 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 always. And so they make this argument that Trump was late, he took too long or he took multiple takes or he was in the wrong room or something like this. And you go, the whole thing was over in 4 hours. Weirdos. What are you talking about? Okay, they counted the votes that same night. It was over in 6 hours. Has the government gotten anything done in over in 6 hours? Not really. All right. So here, they swept the building and they put them all back in there that night. It's pretty dang fast. Speaking on government speed, you ever sit at the MVD? You'll sit there for a week. Now, the president who stood still, right, this article comes out and they're lambasting Trump, saying this exhibit shows that he recorded a video statement. And, no matter where you're lying on this, they say it's sobering and that he's texting all these people. And here, right, they just go through this timeline, 224, 238, and it's the delay. It's not until 417 did he post a video telling the rioters to go home. And you go, wait a minute. These people on the J6 committee, do you think that they could have done it any faster than this? a couple hours, on a massive statement like that? I don't know. Maybe, do they think AOC could have done it? To be fair, AOC could have just been like, hey guys, whatever, Instagram, whatever, because that's just what she does. But, it's kind of a big thing coming from the office of the president. You got multiple people. You've got to make sure, they probably knew that they were going to be scolded and prosecuted by people like Liz Cheney. So they got to make sure they get it right, for crying out loud. They can't wing it. Otherwise, they're going to be insurrectionists themselves, right? Worse than they already are. So it's all standard of care stuff. I would have done it better. I would have gotten there faster. I could have driven the car more competently than you. And it's all just stupid stuff. So the point is, it doesn't really, it's editorial, it's opinion, it is what it is. Now, right here, they're still talking about this literal liar of a witness who's made up a story that nobody has corroborated, that the January 6th committee has not even attempted to corroborate. And so they're putting her on the front of this. Right? So it's total garbage. Now, we take a look at that one. There's another one that came out from the New York Post. Same thing, same day, right? Just to compare it. This one also July 22nd, also from the editorial board. Weird. Also on Friday. Weird. What's going on here? And it says, as his followers stormed the Capitol for 3 hours and 7 minutes. For 3 hours and 7 minutes, he sat there watching TV, doing nothing. You go, what are you talking about? What is he watching Netflix in there? And by the way, it's 3 hours, right? I mean, I guess he probably could have sat there. This wasn't. They were gone later. What do you want him to go do? By the time he's like, let me get in the vehicle and go over there. What, you want to go over to the Capitol and start throwing people out, record more videos? I don't know what the heck they want, but you can see it's a stupid thing. And, they do this for 3 hours and 7 minutes. It's like a blink in the eye, in the middle of a crisis. It's nothing. So another stupid article. Now, all coming out simultaneously, in addition to what we're seeing on Fox News. And then we see just the big litany, right? So, I don't know if you've seen that clip of all of the news anchors. They say, they'll say in unison, this is a danger to our democracy, or, this is important to our democracy, whatever that is, like 35 times, because they all read the same teleprompter. So that basic, same narrative, I think, happens. Somebody issues a memo, it goes out to all the media, and they just run with it. And if you want to read a good book about how garbage the media is, read the book called The Gray Lady Winked. Or if you want to read another book, which I'm still perusing through right now, it's called The Network State by Balaji Srinivasan. And in there, he has a chapter. He says, if you think the news is fake, think about what history is. Why? Because history is sort of the bubbling. It's the filter. It's like the best of the fake news makes the history books, right? So you can see how all of this can be very problematic, and these guys control it. They control basically all of the entities of information. So speaking of that, now the people that really want to get on the airwaves are the J6 committeeers, the hyperbolic, hysterical Congress people, I guess. And here, Liz Cheney was hitting the airwaves pretty hard. You can see she was on with Brett Baer. We're going to get a clip from her. And we've also got her with Jake Tapper. Now, we talked about this morning on our morning walk and talk over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. It's about 20, 30 minutes, morning headlines and things like that. But, Liz Cheney, I think that what's happening with this J6 committee is they're making this the most serious thing that's ever happened, right? It's the worst thing ever. But then they're not really doing anything about it because they just keep kind of like delaying it. It's like dragging their feet on. We'll get to it. Well, if this is like a crisis, like he's going to be running any minute now. If this is the worst thing that's ever happened to America, shouldn't you do something? Like, shouldn't there be a criminal referral like immediately? Why are you delaying this? It feels like you're kind of enjoying this too much. Either you're enjoying it too much, or it's not actually for the purpose that you say it's for, or you actually don't have enough there to lead to an indictment, right? Whatever it is, it's not looking good. Sort of like, get off the pot already, do something or not. It's the kid on the diving board. Jump already. All right. You keep saying you're going to jump, just jump or get off, because there's other things that we have to do. We're tired of sitting here watching you. And here, Liz Cheney they're hitting that, right? They're on episode 8 of this thing. People stop watching after episode 1. They're like, this is terrible. The pilot. No, nobody should ever renew this. Don't put it on Netflix. Don't put it on Hulu. Don't even put it on one of those weird ones that you never sign up for. And like, I don't even know what they are. I can't even think of one right now. But there's a lot of the weird names with all the letters. They sort of like reach into a bucket of letters and pull them out. And they're like, we serve you movies now. It's weird. All right. So that's basically this. Here is Liz Cheney now. who is on with Jake Tapper, screaming about how awful this is, but then nothing happens. Let's watch.
So I know Judge Carter's opinion that it's likely crimes were committed. Your fellow Republican on the committee, Adam Kinzinger, told CNN on Friday that he believes that the committee has proven Donald Trump broke the law. What's your personal opinion? Do you think Donald Trump broke the law?
Okay, Liz, big question coming up. Do you think he broke the law? Do you think she can answer that? Let's see. I hope she does. Now, Kinzinger is somebody who is, sort of waffling on this. And remember, just before we get into Liz, I'm not going to cut her off a whole lot here, but it is something where Liz and Benny Thompson, if you recall on this channel, we talked a lot about it. They differed in opinions. Liz is like, we have to indict him. Because if they don't, then their credibility is just right in the toilet. Like if they don't make a formal recommendation, isn't this all for nothing? But Benny is sort of like, well, nobody, I don't know about this. Anyways, so we're just looking for this final answer. Are you going to indict him, yes or no? Or are you guys just going to continue to enjoy yourselves in this embarrassing way in front of America indefinitely?
I think that Donald Trump, the violation of his oath of office, the violation of the Constitution that he engaged in is the most serious misconduct of any president in the history of our nation.
Whoa!
I think that.
So that sounds pretty bad. So yes, you're going to indict him or make a criminal referral?
As I said, the committee has not decided yet whether or not we'll make criminal referrals.
What? Well, why haven't you decided? You just said it was the worst in the history of America. What the heck is taking you so long?
That's something we take very seriously. And I would also say that the Department of Justice certainly is very focused, based on what we see publicly, on what is the largest criminal investigation in American history.
So no answer. It's so embarrassing. Isn't it embarrassing? Don't you kind of feel embarrassed for her? I mean, she's not embarrassed, obviously. But it's like, Liz, we know you're not answering the question. Jake knows you're not answering the question. It's not even close. And you've got all sorts of internal contradictions within your own statement. It's the worst in the world, but we just haven't made a decision yet. I mean, we're still investigating this. So because it could be even worser than the worst ever. It could be the worst than any president ever, but it could also be way worse than that. And if it is, we might have to file criminal charges even harder. You never know. So we're going to investigate this. We're taking this very seriously. Okay.
But there's no doubt in my mind that the President of the United States is unfit for further office.
That's not the answer.
Any man.
That's not criminal. Jake asked criminal.
Who would conduct themselves, or woman who would conduct themselves the way that he did in attempting to overturn an election and stay in power must never again be anywhere close to the Oval Office.
Oh, that's just the worst. So she didn't answer it at all. Okay. So doesn't that make her look kind of foolish? I mean, it's like, look, I don't want to, I'm not going to go down that road, but if somebody does something and you're very sure of it, and then you demand punishment, and then punishment is available, and then you say, not so fast, I'm not really interested in that punishment, doesn't that sort of undermine your original statement that that person did something really bad? Doesn't it sort of make you look less credible? I think so. Here it is. Now, that is Liz Cheney, worst president ever, but they still have to decide because it's really complicated. Okay. Now, there was another appearance she made, and I think she was just bouncing from show to show to show. So here she was on, was this on Tapper? I can't remember. Fox News Sunday, right? So here she was yesterday. I think this is with Brett.
All right. And what will the committee's report have to say about why the assets like National Guard weren't prepped and ready?
Very good question, Brett. Why the assets weren't prepped and ready? The National Guard, the chief of police wanted additional support, asked for it specifically. We have the documents. Didn't get it. Senate Sergeant at Arms, House Sergeant at Arms denied. Why? Don't know. Muriel Bowser denied additional support on January 5th, one day before. We don't want your help. It's there in writing. Why not? Why? All of these people were going to be there. All of our Congress people, all of our senators, the entire country was keeping their eyes on the Capitol building on that day, and they couldn't even secure it. Why?
Is there a testimony already gathered on Speaker Pelosi's decisions or the Sergeant of Arms in the House and Senate on that regard?
Yeah, we have an entire team. We've got 5 different teams in the investigation. One of them is totally focused on all of those issues of security at the Capitol and the response of the Capitol Police, the response of the National Guard, the response of the Capitol Police Board, what was going on at the Pentagon that day.
Good.
So it's an entire focus of the investigation. You will see in our report, you will likely see in upcoming hearings.
Likely see in upcoming hearings. I wonder if we're going to see Muriel Bowser. I wonder if we're going to see Stephen Sund. I wonder if we're going to see any adversarial questions to any of them. Michael Stanger, we're not going to see. He was, I think, the House Sergeant at Arms. He's dead now, so we're not going to see him. Rest in peace. But no questions from him. Very interesting.
And so it's certainly something that we're going to be very focused on. But what we aren't going to do, Brett, is blame the Capitol Police, blame those in law enforcement.
Nobody's blaming them. Nobody's blaming them. Nobody is blaming them
for Donald Trump's armed mob that he sent to the Capitol.
Okay. So Donald Trump's armed mob. I guess I can say this. There are people blaming the Capitol Hill Police. AOC is blaming the Capitol Hill Police. She is saying that they opened the door for people. And I'm also I guess I sort of am blaming the Capitol Police for letting protesters in, but they got the order from somebody. Is my point. Remember the one we saw where they were coming in I think it was the west side of the Capitol, where we played it like 5 times here. I'm not going to pull it up right now, but where they tapped one of the police officers on the shoulder. He walked up to him. He whispered in his ear. He tapped him on the shoulder. He pulled the other officer back. And then the January 6th protesters walked right in the building. Okay. Who gave that order? Liz, that is the Capitol Hill Police, right? Aren't they to blame if they let people in that you are now prosecuting for crimes? How are they not to blame? Okay, if they got the order to let people in, right, then I want to know who that person is, because that really is the person to blame. But we don't know who that is because nobody has asked the appropriate questions. She says she's going to put it in her report. I'm not too optimistic about that.
I think clearly there were intelligence failures. Clearly the security should have operated better than it did. But this was a mob Donald Trump sent to the Capitol, and I think that's important to keep our eye on.
There are several witnesses who say they met with President Trump on January 4th, and he offered some 20,000 National Guardsmen to protect the Capitol building on January 6th, but the offer was rejected. Is that true? Do you know that to be true?
Well, his own acting Secretary of Defense says that's not true. Chris Miller has testified publicly that Donald Trump never issued any order to deploy the Guard to protect the Capitol. She's sneaky. That's not the question. Oh, this lady is the worst, the absolute worst. Do you hear what she said? She is so sneaky on this one. Wow. She is answering an entirely different question. Let's back this up again. I have to spend a minute on this. Brett Baer says, hey, I got to ask you this question, Liz. Did Donald Trump what was rejected from Trump? Did he offer additional support before this happened? Okay. The timing is important. Before it happened. Brett Baer is a before question to stop this from happening. Liz Cheney is answering an after question. Okay. After the J6 happened, she's saying that Donald Trump didn't issue an order after the fact. Okay. Brett asks a before question. She answers an after question, and they sound very close. This is very sneaky. You got to be very careful when politicians do that. And she's the worst.
Trump on January 4th, and he offered.
Let me back it up a little bit.
The security should have operated better than it did.
Okay.
But this was a mob Donald Trump sent to the Capitol, and I think that's important to keep our eye on.
There are several witnesses who say they met with President Trump on January 4th. And he offered some 20,000 National Guardsmen
January 4th,
to protect the Capitol building on January 6th, but the offer was rejected.
Now listen to her.
Is that true? Do you know that to be true?
Well, his own acting Secretary of Defense says that's not true. Chris Miller has testified publicly that Donald Trump never issued any order to deploy the Guard to protect the Capitol. And so I would point people to his.
That's not what the question was.
His own Secretary of Defense's public testimony. And we also know that on January 6th, while the attack was underway,
look, it's an offer. He was rejected by Muriel Bowser on December 5th. She sent a letter that we've talked about. So of course, why would he issue an order? You want him to override DC Mayor Muriel Bowser? Then people like you, Psycho Liz, would be saying he's a tyrant. He's a tyrant, somebody who's going to be insurrecting America for overriding the National Guard, right? If he would have supported and like prevented this, you would have said, this guy's just a total dictator. He's trying to take over America by bringing the National Guard here. So he's sort of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he would have brought a bunch of additional troops in, you would have said, see, he's taking over America with all of these troops. He doesn't send them. You say he failed to act for not sending in the troops. These people are insane.
Donald Trump did not place a single phone call to anyone at the Pentagon. He didn't place a single phone call to anyone at the Justice Department to say deploy law enforcement. He didn't place a single phone call to anybody at the Department of Homeland Security. And so the notion that somehow
Trump should have been on the switchboard. Hey, whoever his people are. Hey, what's going on? Okay, what are you doing? All right, hanging up. And he's going to talk to this person and hanging up to them. And he's calling this person. And then he's like, all right, can we just get everybody on a group call? Can we just zoom this thing up? Can we three-way this? Hey, let me just get you on this. One of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Somehow he issued an order is not consistent with the facts.
All right, so she's something else, that's for sure. Now, finally, she goes back, and folks, she's going to be, in her deluded mind, America's next president. She's going to be fighting so hard to stop Donald Trump that it's going to be her final reward, the presidency. Her Excellency, Madam Liz Cheney, running America. Why? Well, because she did us all a great service. She stopped the Trumper from taking over the country again. You know, he almost insurrected us. They tried to impeach him multiple times, and he got so close, but Liz is going to stop him from seizing office because why? She's going to run for president.
I haven't really, at this point, I have not made a decision about 2024. And I am really very focused on the substance of what we have to do on the Select Committee.
Reading.
Very focused on the work that I have to do to represent the people of Wyoming. And I'll make a decision about 2024 down the road. But I do think as we look towards the next presidential election, as I said, you know, I believe that our nation stands on the edge of an abyss. And I do believe that we all have to really think very seriously about the dangers we face and the threats we face. And we have to elect serious candidates. And we've got to elect people who will take their obligations and their oaths seriously and who will deal with issues of substance with respect for people who have disagreements.
Yeah. Can you, oh my goodness. She drives me nuts. Okay, so she's somebody who is actually on a committee that is not legally constituted, even by their own rules, who is going to be preaching at the rest of us about decorum when she's on this scam show trial prosecution board that is not even adversarial. And she is literally prosecuting her enemies in every single branch of government. And I want to be clear about that, okay? She is going after her political branches, her political enemies in every single branch of government. This person. Now, a lot of people thought that Dick Cheney was a dictator, a tyrant, somebody who was a power-hungry maniac. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree if you are somebody who thought that way, because Liz Cheney is doing the same thing, right? She's going after people in the executive branch, Trump, we've got Navarro, you've got people like Bannon, you've got the litany of the Congress people who have gotten subpoenas. Everybody in Congress, Senate, legislature, House, all over the place, different people, different entities at the state level. We have now the Supreme Court is being under assault. The committee wants Ginny Thomas's, Clarence Thomas's wife, her to get a subpoena and to come in and testify. It is literally one branch after the other trying to eviscerate her opponents. It's insane, but she's going to be the one preaching to us about democracy. Now, the panic continues, okay, because in addition to Fox News freaking out and sort of dumping everything on Trump, we also saw Liz Cheney was hitting the airwaves, Adam Kinzinger was hitting the airwaves, and then today, Joe Biden posted that weird thing. He posted this afternoon, and he says, brave women and men in uniform across America should never forget that the defeated former president watched January 6th happen and didn't have the spine to act. Which is a weird, this is kind of a weird thing. It's like, Why is the
President
president
Thomas.
still talking about this? He delivers this to the Noble Conference. This is published over at the White House. Comments are turned off, obviously, because they don't want anybody to say it. Look, 122 likes. They deleted the down. You can't down like on YouTube. You can down like it, but you can't see the total numbers on that. And 122. That's hilarious. 3,000 views. Nobody even cares about this administration at all. Why are we even here? All right. So here now, this is him just ranting at Donald Trump. So again, the January 6th committee, obviously, they're going to be, pillaring Donald Trump. They're set up for that. That's the reason they exist. But Joe Biden's got a lot of other things to worry about. And for some reason, he's going to make about a minute and a half just ranting screed at Donald Trump, once again, about January 6th. It's like this never ending saga. Like, why are they talking about this still? If you were, I guess, any leader, or even if you're in a relationship, it's like Joe Biden broke up with Donald Trump and Joe Biden is still talking about Donald Trump. Trump's moved on. He's like, I'm running again, baby. I'm looking for the latest, greatest. I'm looking for the hot and new thing, or the hot tamale, hot. And, he is living his life out there. And Joe Biden is like still complaining about Donald Trump, like his heart's broken. He's like, he's still insurrectionary. And he didn't even call me back. And he cheated on me in insurrection. You go, Joe, move on already, brother. You are the president, my friend. You don't need to be lingering around here. You got the office. You got the nice car. Okay. He's the loser, man. But he's just not getting it. So, all right, enough of that. Now, here is Joe Biden going through this statement. He just, can't let go. Here he is.
Then on January 6th, we relied on law enforcement to save our democracy.
It doesn't sound good,
so
right?
So it happened. The Capitol Police, the D.C. Metropolitan Police, other law enforcement agencies were attacked and assaulted before our very eyes, speared, sprayed, stomped on, brutalized, and lives were lost. And for 3
lives were lost? What is he talking about? Okay, Ashley Babbitt died. Roseanne Boylan died. There were some heart problems and potentially other causes of death there, but Brian Sicknick died of natural causes the next day. There were, several suicides from people who've been in custody for misdemeanor charges. I don't know what else he's talking about, but people died. Now, you can see that people also got speared and brutalized, and people got sprayed. People also got sprayed. Remember that one of those aggravated felony assaults on an officer that came out of one of the sedition conspiracy cases. It was the Proud Boys or the Oath Keepers. I don't remember. One of them, the assault was in fact with a water bottle, which is true. So they might actually have gotten sprayed with maybe some of the water that was in the water bottle before it hit the police in riot gear. I don't know. Sprayed like with a water bottle or a hose. There was some bear spray and stuff I think people had, but most people I think were sort of okay. The cause of death, that wasn't the cause of death for Brian Sicknick. That was specifically sort of excluded from his cause of death. So I don't know what that was. Speared. Did people get speared? Like, were they speared with American flag? Were there blood and guts all over the place? Or they like dismembered? I don't think so. Okay, and he says lives were lost as they were brutalized with those water bottles. Okay.
Stomped on, brutalized, and lives were lost.
Okay.
And for 3 hours,
wow,
the defeated former president of the United States watched it all happen.
Okay, look at this. Look at this face. Watched it all happen for 3 hours. Folks, that's like a bad movie, It's like nothing. The whole thing was over in 3 hours? Are you serious? We've been wasting 18 months on this for 3 hours? All right.
Lives were lost. And for 3 hours, the defeated former president of the United States watched it all happen as he sat in the comfort of the private dining room next to the Oval Office.
Okay.
While he was doing that, brave law enforcement officers were subject to the medieval hell for 3 hours.
3 hours.
Dripping in blood, surrounded by carnage. Face to face with
dripping in blood, surrounded by carnage. Oh my gosh.
Blood, surrounded by carnage. Face to face with crazed mob that believed the lies of the defeated president.
Look at him.
The police were heroes that day. Donald Trump lacked the courage to act. The brave women and men in blue all across this nation should never forget that. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-cop.
Can't be pro-insurrection and pro-cop. Is anybody pro-insurrection? Has anybody come out and said that they are pro-insurrection?
You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-democracy. You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-American.
So do you see how evil this is? It's going from, I guess I have to be, if you had to categorize me, am I pro-insurrection? I mean, I'm not pro-insurrection, but I don't think that anything that's happened here is an insurrection. And I've been covering this and defending a lot of the J6 activity and all of the conversation about it. So, I mean, if Joe Biden and his administration got to put me in a bucket, insurrection or not insurrection, like if I was at a drive-thru, would you like insurrection with that? They would lather insurrection all over my meal, right? According to these people. But I mean, I don't want America to be insurrected by anybody. I don't think so. I don't want that. I have to live in the same society as the rest of everybody else. But what they're doing, it's not about that, right? They're trying to label you, anybody who doesn't agree with them, as an insurrectionist now. It goes from you're a Republican, then you turn into a Republican who voted for Trump. Trump is an insurrectionist. Therefore, you're an insurrectionist. Therefore, you're not a Republican anymore. You're something of a homegrown domestic violent extremist. And if you think about voting for Trump again, because he's an insurrectionist, it seems that you're a pro-insurrectionist. And so therefore, you're an insurrectionist by substitution. Okay, I guess, right? And if you keep going this route, it just shows you how nobody believes them. It's insane. What are they talking about? You can't be pro-insurrection and pro-American. What kind of line is that? Who wrote that?
There can be no greater responsibility than to do all we can to ensure the safety of our families, our children, our community, our nation, and our law enforcement officers. I will always meet.
He's the same guy, the same party that ran on defund the police. What is he talking about?
That duty, just as you do every single day as members of a critically important organization.
Is that him? Is that really Joe? I see in the chat, Lean's like, the real Joe Biden's a lot better looking, It doesn't even really look like him, right? Look at his face and look. It's like total deer in the headlights look. I'm not even sure he knows where he is. They are just putting the teleprompter up there on the screen. They're like, Joe, can you please? And there are cuts in the video, right? So there's a cut. That's a sort of a jump cut. He botched something. So they cut right there. Right there's a cut. Let's see if there's another one. I can't see if there's another one. So it looks like they spliced maybe two clips together right there. Yeah, so not good. Now, that's the president ranting at Donald Trump. He's not got anything better to talk about, evidently. And meanwhile, these people are talking about how awful anybody who is an insurrectionist is. And here, take a look at this story that came out over from the Hill. Nobody more, actually, they're having the counter effect. They're saying insurrection is bad, but because they're doing such a bad job governing and running the country, a lot of people are kind of on team insurrection. A lot of people are like, I kind of want to get out there and maybe spear somebody myself. Throwing water bottles sounds pretty fun. Maybe I can spray somebody myself and, partake in the fun. I'm not encouraging violence here, okay? Never have, never will. But here, right, this is an interesting story. Says nearly 1 in 3 Americans now say it may soon be necessary to take up arms against the government. So it's like going the opposite direction, right? At the rate we're going, it's going to be 1 in 2, and then it's going to be 1 in 1, and then, who knows where this goes. But this came out on July 24th, written by Brad Dress, and there was actually, I think, a PDF that I thought might be more interesting to take a look at. And so here, this came out from, it says from Our Precarious Democracy. In fact, here, let me just download this here, and then we'll be able to just get this a little bit, I think, opened up a little bit better so I can mark on it. And then we can see it beautifully. Okay. So this came out from an organization called Public Opinion Strategies, and it says Our Precarious Democracy. As Independence Day approaches, it says more than 1 in 4 Americans are so alienated from their government that they say, this says 1 in 4, so I'm not sure why that prior article said 1 in 3. They say 1 in 4 so alienated that they say it may soon be necessary to take up arms against the government, which is Interesting. The startling finding comes in the midst of congressional hearings. After the January 6th hearing, a survey of 1,000 registered voters conducted last month by Republican and Democratic pollsters took input from a bunch of students. Among the findings, a majority of Americans agree the government is, quote, corrupt and rigged against everyday people like me. 73% of voters who describe themselves as strong Republicans, 71% who say very conservative, 68% of rural. With the debate raging about the integrity of our elections, a majority, 56%, say they, quote, generally trust elections to be conducted fairly and counted accurately, which is not much. That means like a good almost half the country is not too sure about the upcoming elections, according to this poll. Nearly half of Americans agreed that, quote, more and more they feel like a stranger in their own country. 28% of voters, including 37% who have guns in their homes, agree that it may be necessary at some point soon for citizens to take up arms against the government. We've been talking about this for a lot of time. You know, I mean, it's like, hey, if the government becomes illegitimate, this is just history, right? This is just history. You have the different turnings. I think I told you last week about there's a YouTube video with the author of the book called Generations and Tony, I can't remember his name right now, and Tony Robbins. They're talking about the fourth turning. You know, the idea that there's sort of these 90-year cycles, and at the fourth turning, at the end of the fourth turning, you have sort of these 4 quarters of 22 years, and at the fourth turning, you get, you know, some tumultuous times. And so here you're seeing that at least 1/5 of voters across party lines agree at some time, you know, may be necessary to take up arms. 1/5 across party lines. 1/5, 1 in 5. More than 1/3 of voters with guns in their household also agree. And it's not, you know, the margins there are not as sort of big as you might think, like between the Democrats and the Republicans. It's like 20%, not less than that, 16%. It's not that much different. So a lot of people are sort of getting agitated with the government. And this is something we've talked a lot about here, the great bifurcation, the illegitimacy of the federal government. People are going to start to move. They're going to start to say and sort of disconnect themselves with the traditional levers of power. And I'm not so sure that's a bad thing. Now, lastly, the last thing that we want to get to today, of course, is Donald Trump and his, quote, radical plan. So if they are unsuccessful in stopping Donald Trump, well, then he takes over. Apparently, he's got some big pretty ahead of us. And so I want to show you, he's looking, you know, like he's sort of cleaning the field right now. This poll came out over from the Trafalgar Group, which is a pretty reputable polling agency. And they posted this. This was from the TPUSA poll. I think that they have a straw poll at the end of their event. And so they posted here, they said, if Donald Trump did run and the 2024 Republican presidential primary offers the following choices, for whom would you vote? And what do we have? We've got Trump, DeSantis, Kristi Noem, Pompeo, Cruz, Haley, and Pence. Pence is not even registered. Pence is at the end of the stage. He's off the board. Trump, Ron, and Kristi are the top 3, but Trump is far and away. He's at 78%, down to 19% for Ron DeSantis, right? So you see stuff like that and you say, well, maybe that is legitimate. Maybe that's true. Fox News was sort of reporting the same thing. It says Trump dominates the 2024 GOP presidential nomination straw poll. And their headline, you know, there it is as follows. So Trump is looking good there. Now, we also saw and heard from Donald Trump when he was speaking there at Turning Point USA, and this clip gave people some pause. They were saying, is this a hint that he is actually running for this thing? Is he prognosticating something for us here? Let's listen.
So the fake news media is totally complicit in this whole deal. And if I renounced my beliefs, if I agreed to stay silent, if I stayed home, if I announced that I was not going to run for office, the persecution of Donald Trump would immediately stop. We know that. Everybody knows that. But that's what they want me to do. And you know what? There's no chance I do that. There's just no chance I do that. I can't do that. Because Thank you very much. Because I love you and I love this country. We can't let this happen. They're coming after me because I am standing up for you. That's why they're coming after me, and because you're a force.
All right. So, I'm not so sure, right? Donald Trump said that if he didn't run, they'd let up. I'm not so sure of that. I think that they really, really want to make sure that they make a number out of him. But it sounds like, right, that he is running because of this onslaught. And I've sort of been kicking this around for some time. I don't know if Donald Trump announcing before a potential indictment is better or Donald Trump announcing after a potential indictment is better. I think that it is better. I think if he announces early and then the committee indicts him after the fact, it makes the indictment look like a political prosecution. And so, they're sort of toying with each other here. And it's kind of like, cats playing with a mouse, and we're trying to see who gets the upper hand on this. Does Trump announce before an indictment? Does the committee wrap things up with no indictment and then he announces? Where does this go? But it is a very curious clip, and it's fun to hear him sort of speak about the prosecution. As I've said, I think if he is indicted, or I think there may have been a big contingent of America that were just sort of, okay, Donald Trump, we had a Trump couple of years and it's moved on. And then they were okay moving on. But now with this onslaught, now with this sort of, 8 hearings, 8 season episode special, just constantly going after Trump, I think a lot of people are going to be agitated and irritated about it. I mean, I haven't been as agitated probably on this channel ever as I've been with the January 6th committee, right? It's sort of energized me to a way that I don't think the Democrats could do with any other issue. And it's certainly made me more motivated to support anybody who is responding to them and to their narrative. And if Trump and the Trump contingent are going to be those people, well, you might see a lot more people line up who may not have otherwise done so. So it's almost like they're going to be a victim of their own efforts, which is really kind of a stupid thing. Speaking of that, here is one individual. His name is Matt Gaetz. We've already speculated a lot about this, saying that what's good for the goose is good for the gander, as it were. Donald Trump, if he takes over, why wouldn't he form his own stupid select committees that are also illegally constituted, that also don't follow any of their own rules, and just go prosecute their own political enemies? Because the Democrats have set the precedent, right? We know that they can form their committees, and as long as you control both houses, as long as you control both branches of government, the executive branch, which is where the DOJ lives, and they can prosecute crimes. If you control that, which of course you do if you're the president, and you're also in control of the congressional branch, meaning you sort of have somebody like a Nancy Pelosi who is basically the same as a Joe Biden, right? They're sort of in alignment with each other. If you have that, then you can sort of outsource your political prosecution from the executive branch over to the legislative branch, and you can have them form their own fake committees and then go conduct their own illegal, unconstitutional prosecutions, right? That's the structure. It's already been set up. They've already prosecuted people. Steve Bannon just got convicted for this thing. So it is anchored in, and the DC circuit courts are going to have to, I guess, follow the same precedent. So now when Trump's in charge, presuming he wins, and Matt Gaetz is running the committees, what's Matt Gaetz going to do about it? Let's listen to him and see what he had to say. This is him at Turning Point as well.
Our America is not for the thugs and the criminals who would burn our cities and murder our fellow Americans in the name of some bullshit social justice.
Oh, content warning. Oops, I didn't know that. Content warning.
BLM, oh, these BLM people, they grifted millions and millions of dollars off of corporate America.
That's true.
They used that money to fund and incite violence.
Patrisse Cullors.
One of them even gave her baby daddy $1 million.
Patrisse Cullors.
I make you this promise. If the Republicans are in the majority and I have subpoena power, I will personally investigate BLM like I'm a Soros-funded prosecutor going after the Trump organization.
Okay, so now he's going to go after BLM, which is great. That's fine. I'd like him to form his own J6. I mean, you get the point, right? The point is they're going to have all this committee power and they're going to be able to, go do their own things. Now he's going to go after BLM. I would really like to see, honestly, an actual January 6th committee. That would be very nice. And I would love to have the subpoena power be extended to all of the appropriate parties there. But that was Matt Gaetz, and you can imagine the Republicans will be in charge. And if it's like, Newt Gingrich said that it might be a 70-seat sweep in the House, which means they'll be able to do whatever they want. The only real question will be, do they have any stones at all? Which probably not. Now, this was also an interesting story over from Axios. Axios came up with this. They posted this on Friday, and they're also in panic mode, right? On Friday, it was like panic mode. Everybody hit the panic button. That big Trump, because Axios was reporting, Wall Street Journal dumped theirs, New York Post dumped theirs, Laura Ingraham had Ron DeSantis on. They're all like giddy about this. And so Jonathan Swan at Axios tells us about this radical plan for Trump's second term. And you go, radical? It's probably going to be amazing. Let's read it. It says, former Trump's top allies are preparing to radically reshape the federal government. Sounds great already. If he's reelected, purging potentially thousands of civil servants and filling career posts with loyalists dedicated to his America First ideology. Well, I think the purging is good. The purging, I think, is enough. Once we're done with the purging, we don't need to refill them, but purge is good. The impact could go well beyond typical conservative targets like the EPA and others like the IRS. Trump allies are working on plans that would potentially strip layers at the Justice Department, including the FBI, yes, and reaching into national security intelligence and the State Department and the Pentagon, sources say, which is good. I mean, those are basically the biggest criminal organizations that we've talked about here. I mean, I'm still waiting to get arrested for my Lego set up here, my Capitol building Lego set, because those intelligent special agents, the special agents, they are special at the FBI. That's what they're looking for. Ridiculous. During his presidency, Trump often complained about what he called the deep state. The heart of the plan is derived from an order called executive order called Schedule F. And the reporting on this, basically what this means, Schedule F is where they're going to reclassify a bunch of federal employees. Say you're a Schedule, D or E or whatever other schedule you are. You're now a Schedule F, which means you don't get any job protections. And that means you're probably going to be on your way out soon. They intend to stack thousands of mid-level jobs as well. Their preparation is far more ambitious than what was previously reported. What's happening now is an inversion of the slapdash, virtually non-existent infrastructure surrounding Trump in 2017. Groups are operating on multiple fronts. They're identifying top lieutenants, curating alternative labor force, and unprecedented preparing for legal challenges and all the other fixins. Tens of thousands of civil servants who are on Schedule F might be gone. New presidents usually get to replace 4,000 or so, but below a rotating layer of political appointees sits a mass of government workers who enjoy strong employment protections and typically continue their service from one administration to the next. An initial estimate by the Trump official who came up with Schedule F found it could apply to as many as 50,000 federal workers, a fraction of the workforce of more than 2 million, but a segment with a profound role in shaping American life. Can you believe that? 2 million federal workers. So, look, obviously I'd feel bad for people who are unemployed and they lose their jobs, but the government is not supposed to be, a place to just retire, just get it. Oh, I'm a government worker now. What do? I just work here. But what do you do? Right. And I've dealt with a lot of government workers, both in the law and before I was in the law. When I used to build swimming pools, I used to go and sit down and get permits passed at the City of Scottsdale permitting desk to get pools approved. Yeah, it was, dealing with the government is just a whole mess. So the point is, we want less of the government if we can help it, if we can get it. And that is part of Donald Trump's big plan. And the last story I had before we jump into your comments and your super chats and your questions is apparently Trump is going to be in DC tomorrow, and they're calling this his comeback, right? He's plotting the comeback. Now, earlier today, I thought that this was supposed to be, some people were saying, I thought Politico was actually saying that he actually might announce he's running tomorrow. And that seemed a bit premature. And then when I came back to this story, it looks like they may have deleted that part of it. Or maybe I was just delusional. I don't know. Could be that also. I'm not sure. But here, Trump returns to DC this week, apparently tomorrow. This was posted here today. Here, Brooke Rollins, domestic policy advisor, and Larry Kudlow, top economic advisor, they teamed up. They're all working to get Trump elected. And now they're taking on another task. making a forward-looking platform for the movement. Trump returns to D.C. on Tuesday, that's tomorrow, his first visit since leaving in, as they say, disgrace after January 6th, to deliver the keynote address for America's First Agenda Summit. So he's going to give the big speech tomorrow. As the ex-president is poised to announce a 2024 run, his allies are eager for him to use the occasion to press pause on 2020 grievances. Trump's capacity to let bygones be bygones is not going to happen. As some say, according to those familiar with the speech on Tuesday, it's not expected to be a comprehensive policy address, but instead focus on one specific plank of the American First platform. Rollins said it's coming to look like the State of the Union 5.0. And so we'll see. Now, we don't know, right, if or when he is going to announce, but we're keeping our eyes on it, certainly. Trump's raising a bunch of money. And the rest of the article is going as follows. So that will, of course, be something that will take place tomorrow. If there's anything interesting in that speech, in that keynote, we will get to it. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you and to hear from our friends over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. So we're going to do a quick refresh over there on Locals and see what came in today. John McGarvey got us started this morning, says, salutations from the Low Country History Detective. Shameless plug. So let's see what this is. The Low Country History Detective. I don't know what that is. Is that a YouTube show? Is that a YouTube channel? Could be. I don't know what it is. So maybe you whatever it is, we have John McGarvey. Well, I don't know what it is. Salutations from the Low Country History Detective. It might be a book. Oh, I think it is. Maybe it's a book. Oh, is it this? It might be this. David Banner. It might be that book. I don't know. Go support that book. Thanks for being here, John. C. Reed is here. He says, may have sprained my finger in the making of that meme. Hope you liked it. So that's a good one from John. That was a good one from C. Reed. C. Reed, of course, Mondays your fingers can get a little bit, tight. So if you're memeing before you're stretching your fingers out, could be a big problem for you. So good for C. Reed. We've got Mark Pate. He says, she is a scam artist just like her dad. Love what you do in the content. Keep informing the people and making them aware. Very nice super chat from Mark Pate. Yeah, she is something else. Liz Cheney is something else. She's very sneaky, and she sort of seems to get a little bit of glee from it, it feels like. Thank you, Mark. Very generous, and I appreciate your support. Mary Briggs with the super, but no question. Thank you very much, Mary. I appreciate you also. Geomancy Games is here. Geomancy Games has a channel on YouTube, and he does some video game content over there, and he says, come check out my cancer journey and help support a fellow father trying to make something of himself. Lots of video game stuff to watch. Love you, Rob. And yeah, so Geo's over on YouTube, and he's got a lot of content over there. Retro games, right? I believe, and some good games over there. You know what I was playing lately, Geo? I've never actually completed this game. I was playing around with it. Is Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's a pretty good game. It's a pretty good game. It's pretty good. I like Metroid games. I like Metroidvania games and stuff like that. It's a pretty good game. I've never actually played it. And there's actually there's a whole trans sequence in there. I'm pretty sure. I think that's what that was. So it kind of caught me by surprise. But that's true. Just Cause is here, says, Rob, that does not sound like Joe. I think it's a body double. Look how well spoken he is. He's also far more pale with a larger forehead. AI, perhaps. It did not look like him. Now, to be honest about this, like, I've been sick, right? You get sick and your face kind of swells up and your voice gets it's not too good. But he also, I don't. People are all over Twitter asking for proof of life photos. Where are the proof of life photos? I don't know. Maybe that's what that was or not. Who knows? Ditka's Bears is here. Ditka's Bears, very generous super chat. Thank you, Ditka's Bears, number 2. No question on that one, but very, very generous of you, Ditka's. I wish I had something intelligent to say in response to that other than thank you, but I don't. So thank you. We have 63 Rambler. He says, a stick was thrown like a javelin at cops, and Officer Lilla somebody picked it up and hit unconscious Roseanne Boylan with it 3 times. It's not funny, right? But it is true. there's all these spears, I guess, like javelin throws were taking place at the Capitol, and people were spraying water bottles like this is my country, water bottles, you know, this is my country, or something like that. I'm not sure what that is. But okay, maybe they should ask Juicy the Jussie Smollett. Molly Dolly says, any candidate names for the Arizona primary next week? Well, I mean, not other than the big ones. I mean, I think that I like the candidates I've mentioned here. I like Carrie Lake. I like Blake Masters. I think that I'll be sort of that side of votes this go round. I'm not endorsing anybody or anything. Not that that matters, but certainly I like people who are not the same as the other people who have gotten us into the positions that we're currently in. So I think that's the insurrection party. I think the IP party, probably going to be the insurrection, the ISP, the insurrection sedition party, whatever that is. Probably get a website and a badge and all of that stuff. And so that was another one from Ditka's. Ditka's bears with another super generous super chat. And again, I've got nothing else to say. It's like, it's two. It's embarrassing me twice here in one show. But it's so generous. It's like you just have to sit here and just say, I guess I'll just be very generous. It's very generous, Ditka's. Really, thank you for that. So I've got some pretty big plans for this channel and some of the work that we're doing here. And I'm going to try to increase production. I'm going to try to increase total impressions here by systematizing some of the work that I do, so I have some help on the inbound and outbound production and all of that. And so the reason I share that with you is just so you sort of know where the super chats are going. Like, they're not going in the bottom of a mattress somewhere. All of this stuff is going to go right back into the show. And I've been working on that for quite some time, and I'm super excited about it. So thank you very much, Ditkas. And 63 Rambler is here, is binary female. 63 Rambler. Okay, I'm going to have to try to remember that. I think I can do that. 63 Rambler. Binary and female. We're glad to have you here, 63 Rambler. And it's nice to know, I guess the next question would be pronouns, but I'll just give you the default pronouns of, her, she, those types of things, unless you correct me otherwise. But thank you for being here as well. Let's see what's over on locals. I did the refresh, and now we're scrolling down to the bottom. We've got some serious comments here today, which is going to be, oh gosh, I saw a Terminator comment. It's going to be the worst. All right, let's see here. This one came in from Kenny Cole. Kenny says, Rob, well, I think I'm going to take the Dave Rubin challenge in August. No socials or tubes unless absolutely necessary. Wow. Does Dave Rubin do that? He takes off a month. The news cycle is utterly depressing. When you work with your hands for a living, gas matters, inflation matters, material matters. This is worse than 08. Man, that's bad, Kenny. I was in construction in 08. Actually, that's sort of a reason I went to law school. I was sort of working for my dad back then, building pools. And, it was, things were going well, and then things were not going well. And I was wrapping up college, and I thought, let me try law. And then it felt like a really good fit. And then, and it all sort of worked out. But my point is, I was there in 2008, and it was really bad in 2008. I remember that. It was like a catastrophe. And if you're saying this is worse than 2008, I'm sorry to hear that, because 2008 was really bad. Construction wiped everybody out, and it was not good. So I'm praying for you, Kenny Cole. Hope you're doing well. This one is here from former LEO. He says, the root cause of the J6 civil disobedience. Yeah, that's the letter from Mayor Muriel Bowser, right? There it is right there. To be clear, DC is not requesting any additional law enforcement. That looks like it was a screenshot taken on a potato or something like that. But we have, I think, the original document, former LEO. And yeah, Muriel Bowser denied additional support. Miss Lucky says, we would have been at the rally, but we were putting up insulation at the new shop building. Not fun. Would rather be at the rally. And now it's Miss Lucky and Sergeant Bob. They're up in Chino Valley, Arizona, which is not far out of Prescott. And they were going to go to the Trump rally, but they didn't make it. Insulation is that's not ever fun. Yeah, a rally would be a lot more. But you are going to have a new shop building, and I don't even know what you're going to be doing in there, but it sounds awesome. I aspire to have a shop building one day, and maybe I'll get there. C. Rose says, hey, Rob, way off topic, but have you seen Top Gun Maverick? Great movie. I haven't yet. And he says, P.S. T1 is still better than T2. Which is, this might be a bannable offense moving forward. I haven't decided on that yet, but it might be a bannable offense. We don't have any bannable offenses here on this show. Not yet, but that's close. Miss Lucky is here, says, love the morning walk and talks and seeing the old Scottsdale homes. That's from Miss Lucky. And so Miss Lucky, those are actually in downtown Phoenix. I'm in downtown Phoenix now. Scottsdale is where my law firm is. And of course, I'm in downtown Phoenix, but the buildings you're seeing is really from downtown Phoenix. It's in the historic district. It's a beautiful part of town. But it's good to see you, Miss Lucky. C. Reed says, here is my submission from the Meme Wars 2022. Taking on all challengers. The left can't meme. We all know why. And that was from, What Do You Mean You People? That one, right? All right. So that was from C. Reed. Let's do another quick refresh over on locals, and then we'll see what else we've got here. Before we wrap it up for the day, we've still got some serious comments to attend to. John McGarvey, he says, honestly, after Trump's big win in 2016, I felt sorry for these politicians. I felt like they actually loved their country, but they were being blackmailed to destroy it. Now I think they actually hate their country. So sad, John McGarvey. Yeah, I think they're just in it for themselves. I think they're all just little piglets getting fat at the trough, and we're all expensing it. Miss Lucky says, President Trump offered to help prior and no one listened. He could not at the moment wave a magic wand. The Dems wanted it all to happen. Miss Lucky says, 3 hours. Look at the places like Portland where real insurrections went on for months. They set up towns. Remember Chop, Chaz, and Chop and all those different towns? They had towns they set up. The leftists running the city handcuffed the popo and the rioters were not prosecuted. It makes the Capitol look like kindergarten. And Sergeant Bob says, as much as I detest Biden, if Cheney ran against him, I would vote for Sleepy Joe. Cheney is an absolute traitor and sleaze. Sergeant Bob is right on that one. TOS Forever says, good, marvelous Monday evening, Rob, and the Watching the Watchers community. Shout out to TOS. Says, Rob, using your knowledge of body and facial language, what do you see observing Liz Cheney? She seems to me like a, what's the right word for her? Somebody who is just an operator. That's it. Just an operator. Kind of emotionally detached. Somebody you can probably give a script to and articulate a set of bullet points. She seems like an operator and not a bad one, right? Seems pretty good. And probably has been working hard for it and has probably calculated this is a political maneuver where she's going to be able to, capitalize on this. And I think she's somebody who's probably pretty calculating and cold and delivers it accordingly. Sometimes you'll see her dial up the emotion a little bit, but almost never, right? I mean, she really is pretty non-emotional. Even when she's talking about, the end of death of America and all that stuff, pretty even-keeled lady. And I just think she's calculated more than anything. I think that's probably the best way to say it. I don't think she's really a true believer in almost anything she does, which is, I know, kind of not appropriate, right, to say and judge, but that's what I think. And I really don't like what she's doing at all. Here, Miss Lucky says, Sergeant Bob says, Cheney, where's the beef? The DC government and the cops were recklessly negligent, inaction. They were warned. President Trump offered help. No report or testimony now means it's a cover-up. I think that's a good, astute observation from Sergeant Bob. Also says Cheney's a piece of work. Former LEO says, I wonder if Liz will appear when she's subpoenaed by the J6 Part 2. Probably not. Tree Mendez says, hey, Liz, maybe Trump sent the people to the Capitol because Bowser replied to his offer that the National Guard on January 4th saying, don't you worry, we're in D.C. and we see large crowds all the time and our police are capable of handling crowds and don't send anything our way. If he took Bowser at her word, why would he or any reasonable person worry about sending the crowd to the Capitol? It's a good question. Good question. He didn't, right? They told him don't send people. Now they're blaming him for not sending people. Miss Lucky says Dick Cheney was running the White House. Bush was stupid. Miss Lucky says, Sergeant Bob says Biden has wrecked the country, but all he can do is whine about Trump. I know. Most all cops I know support Trump and detest Biden and his henchmen. Former LEO says, how much time did mush-brain Biden spend watching the failed Afghan evacuation? It's a good question. That's a good question, right? How much nap time did he sit for those? How long was that? 40 days? Right? Okay, that's like an actual crisis, not 3 hours of whatever. Here, Tessa Michelle says, Miss Lizzie. Here's Miss Lizzie. That's Miss Piggy, right? Is that her name, Miss Piggy? It's not Little Miss Piggy, right? That's the one that goes down wee, wee, wee all the way home, right? Little Miss Piggy is the one that goes wee, wee, wee all the way. That's on your foot. But this is Miss Piggy, right? The Muppet. I don't know. All right, Tessa Michelle. Thunder7 says, Wyoming primary on August 16th is going to boot that rhino traitor Cheney out of politics forever. Only 23 days to watch Miss Piggy, there it is, implode at the polls. Text 1 says, Joe Biden looks and talks like the Crypt Keeper. Never seen him look this horrible. He does look really bad. Elder abuse, yeah. We've been saying that since 2019, and it's still going. Thunder7 says, follow-up question, Rob. Can we have a Harriet Hageman celebration victory on your show that day? Certainly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. We'll party all day. I mean, there may not be anything else to talk about. Get out the MAGA hats. Sri Mendes says, okay, Joe, if you want to talk about Trump taking his good old time addressing a crisis, let's talk Afghanistan. Let's talk Ukraine. Let's talk supply chain. Let's talk inflation. All good points. And right, they're upset about 3 hours. Joe Biden has 14 dead American soldiers because of his incompetence. 3 hours? All right. Former LEO says Dick Cheney is an unindicted war criminal. Thunder7 says, who cares how it's announced? Trump will run and win again. Doesn't matter. Trump could send a truth. He's got his plane renovated and he's ready to roll. Just want to know who he's going to pick as VP. Pompeo, Flynn, or a woman? That's a good question. I don't know. It's a good question. A woman would be a good one, right? I mean, a woman would be sort of shattering that narrative. Yeah. But Kamala already got the first woman VP, except I don't know if she can claim a woman anymore. I don't know what her definition is anymore. It's complicated. Zach Nichols says, with an average income of $75K per year, 50,000 persons is $3.75 billion per year in revenue we could save. I would guess that is a high estimate, but probably not far off. Oh yeah, $3.75 billion. Yeah, I mean, it's probably more than that. 75 per year plus. I mean, think of all the costs and benefits and healthcare. I mean, you're probably at, I got to imagine a $1.20 probably. Think of all the benefits that the employees of the government get. Everything. They get everything. It's a lot. Here, Thunder7 says, I heard another J6 political prisoner took their life. Tragic. I saw that, and I hadn't confirmed that it was actually a suicide, but it looks like it is. Dies by suicide. Washington Examiner covered this story. It's horrible, And many of these people, what are these? Misdemeanor charges? Okay, and you have a bunch of psycho lunatics on the left saying, well, shouldn't have done it. Okay, well, they're dead now. So I hope you feel good about your political prosecutions, because more families have dead kids in them. Horrible. Wild Type Mind says, I propose a science test to determine if that was the real Peter in chief. If Biden's blunders and his word is significantly lower than average, we can conclude that was not the same Peter Brandon. I can do the statistical science if someone gathers the data for me. Yeah, he did seem a little bit more coherent and cognizant than usual, didn't he? The Veil says, hey, Rob, we counted 3 edits in that clip of Biden. Zach and I agreed we counted 3 jump cuts. Sad. Something one could see from a beginning editor. Sad. That is an F in editing. Maybe the editor won't be around if Trump gets in, though we shouldn't wait that long. Zach also counted that Biden didn't blink for almost a minute, acting like a robot. The robot imitations they have at Disneyland, where the Lincoln robot pretends to talk. Sad. Amazing. So TOS Forever says, I wonder if that is a relative or really Mike Dickus from the Chicago Bears, Hall of Fame 1988. It's got to be him. I think it's him. I think Mike is actually here. He's hanging out with us. He wants to partake in the program. And let's see. Okay, so here we have, Stookie is giving me a correction. Stookie says, Rob, I have to correct you on the shirt color, dum-dum. She didn't say that. I added that in. You are wearing a mint green or seafoam colored shirt. Chartreuse is the color of yellow safety vests. Uh-oh, this is gonna get spicy. Somebody else told me that this sort of was a chartreuse color, and I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about this. This is gonna get a little problematic. I can feel it already. It's good to know, Stookie. The shirt's probably gonna get retired regardless of what color it is, because of these collars. They're driving me bananas. But let's see. I want to make sure I didn't miss any other locals comments before. I think we got them all. And then we'll wrap up with some of those YouTube comments that just came in. And I saw Carl Borchers. He sent this one and he says, When the other Cheney daughter came out as gay, Liz actually hired a PR firm to do a focus group to help her decide if she should accept or disown her own sister. That's how scummy she is. Wow. That's what I'm talking about. Like exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm taking your word for that, Carl, but it like doesn't surprise me because she seems like that person who would do that. How gay is she? Okay. I can work with that. What do the voters think? Perfect. Yeah, it's gross. It's gross behavior. 63 Rambler says, Better Call Saul season 6, episode 10 is tonight. So I am not caught up on Better Call Saul. What's the last one on Netflix? That's probably where I stopped watching it. Whatever the last season is on Netflix, I think I stopped. But isn't that like season 4? Like, isn't 5 and 6 like not on there? I actually like that show. You know, I actually like a lot of the lawyer and crime shows, which is kind of weird because they're not really realistic at all, which is maybe why I like them. Because I'm like, oh, that is a lot easier than what we have to deal with. Oh, that's a lot more fun than what we have to deal with. Maybe that's why. But 63, episode 10, that sounds like a season premiere or season finale. Is that what that might be? Woo! All right. Well, it's going to get queued up. I'm going to have to get queued up on those. And here, let's see. I want to make sure I got everything on locals. We had a lot of locals comments today. Yeah, we have Miss Piggy comments. Miss Piggy is better human than TDS Liz. Miss Piggy doesn't have a wicked bone in her body. Lizzie Jabba the Hutt is evil. Oh, I think that is it, my friends, for the show. Yeah, I think we got them all. And so that is it, my friends. We're going to leave it there. I want to thank you for being a part of the program. And as a reminder, if you do want to join our community, it's over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. You can sign up right there. We have morning walk and talks we do, which are these nice little videos of sort of, you know, headlines, morning headlines. It's really to carry on the conversation that we're having here into the next day, and it's a way for us to sort of build a community and chat a bit. So go join us over at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. It's a lot of fun. Also, you can join. You still get the same videos if you join. Click that join button right next to that subscribe button on YouTube. I am, of course, also a lawyer here at the R&R Law Group. We're located in Scottsdale, Arizona, but we help good people charged with crimes all over the state of Arizona. We've represented people from all over the world, and we're really passionate about this work. I mean, we have a lot of fun on this channel, but every single day we've got an entire team of people that, you know, people come to our office in a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. We want to help them find safety, clarity, and hope, and really move beyond this and help them get sort of back on track. And we'd love the opportunity to help. So if you happen to know anybody in Arizona who needs help, we do offer free case evaluations, 480-787-0394 over at rrlawaz.com if you want to check out our website. We very much appreciate it. And my friends, thank you to all of the mods who are modding down the fort for us. Vianticus Prime, K-Bean, Zulu, Just Cows had a birthday last week and a based nephew. Lean, Playing Hooky, Geomancy Games, and Lava, Java, Lava. And a final shout out to our ultra mega super spotlight supporters. Check out John at qsimple.com who supports our work here. Big shout outs to Chris Romero, David B3, and Dr. EMB, who are all the spotlight supporters on YouTube. It's a little bit, you know, higher tier support, but I'd like to share some screen real estate and give some extra special shout outs. And if you support us at an equivalent level over on Locals, we appreciate that as well. And so that, my friends, is it for the program. We are going to be back here tomorrow to do it all again. And I hope you join us. Have a tremendous evening. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here then. Bye-bye, everybody.